Zoning Board of Appeals, you are live on the air and you are being recorded.
Okay, thank you, Michael and LTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of October 12th, 2021. This evening is a work session, so we'll get to work right away. First is an administrative application. I will read this in. It is Erica Schoen at 6 Colony Court, East Hampton, tax map number 300-90-2-8.4, to allow clearing on a property and the construction of a fence within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. Applicant has revised their plan upon viewing the board's comments. So thank you, Eleni, for your work on this application. And if you wouldn't mind leading us through this, Eleni, thank you.
Good evening. So this is the updated survey that the applicant has sent. If you remember, this had come before the board in September as a possible administrative application, and the board didn't feel comfortable with it. The applicant had listened to the board's discussion and had revised their plan and asked that it be brought back for possible admin. This is the updated survey here. They were originally proposing a scenic easement that just came across the 100-foot setback. The board had suggested that they bring it up to the 60-foot contour line, so they've amended the scenic easement here. They're proposing a little bit less clearing now. There had been areas of clearing over on this side of the property, which they're no longer proposing. So this is the proposed clearing line now. There was a question whether it would be all lawn. They wanted to state that it won't be all lawn, although it will be considered cleared. So I want that to be conveyed. But that this would be the section of lawn here, and this would be more of a natural garden type, but it would be cleared. So the clearing that they're proposing now is, I believe, 18,739 square feet, where 20,121 is permitted. And they're also proposing the fence just at that 100-foot setback. I believe I do have some photos of the property. The chairman visited the property today. And, let me see. There are a few photos here, so you can see what the vegetation looks like. It is beyond the 100-foot setback. It is mature white pine forest. However, this is the area that is being proposed to be cleared. The applicant did state that there was a question of this tree, and they said that they did not plan to remove that tree.
But they were clearing back to that tree, right?
Yes, within that area, but they don't plan to take the tree down.
Excellent. Any questions for Eleni on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Lenny,
Sure.
so when you said that we're going to have a limited amount of lawn, but the rest will be cleared and planted according to a re-veg plan that you would work out with the planning department, how is it to be planted? As a garden, a formal garden, do we know?
We don't know. It is still proposed to be a cleared area. It is still considered cleared in the eyes of the town, since it's not natural vegetation. But they wanted to state that it won't be lawn. But we wouldn't have any sort of plan for it. It would still be considered a cleared area, just not lawn. So this entire area is the clearing that it would be part of the permit.
So Ed, if I could just pick up on your point for a second, and then go back to you. I appreciate you asking about that. I wonder if we, let's say this, if we approve this going administratively, Eleni, I imagine a lot of us would like to see that proposed additional clearing area planted with some sort of native species and have them work with you on it, on the planting plan, and they can obviously keep it simple. And as well, I'd like to have that tree, or my famous tree, included in the language. And I wonder, another question to you, besides that one tree, did they talk about not taking down some of those other trees on the edge that are quite large, Eleni?
Yeah, they had said that they didn't plan on removing any of the mature trees, that they just wanted to clear out this area here, but they did want it to be considered a cleared area. So yeah, I get that. That part's fine with me, and that they're not going to plant trees and pine trees. And I get that, but I'm just suggesting, and to the other board members, that be whatever it is, even if it's low bush stuff, that it be native. That's basically, that area that's stippled in red there. You know what I mean?
Isn't that
go ahead, Roy.
Isn't that essentially calling it a re-veg?
A good point. A good point. Yeah.
Eleni, what did they say they were going to put there? I thought you mentioned something earlier.
They had said they talked about they did want to plant some native plants.
Okay.
However, they want this to be considered cleared. Because it is vegetated now. They just wanted to clear it out and plant
and clean it up.
It would be more. It would still be considered cleared when we're looking at it on a survey. So that's why it's part of this. So it's definitely not going to be lawn, but it's still considered cleared.
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice if I completely get that. And Roy makes a good point. It would be nice if they went native. And I'll say this, being out there today, as you know, Eleni, and some others may know, that's fairly steep there. Especially in the northern portion of the survey there. So I wonder, I think some good vegetation, whatever they're planting, is really going to be helpful to that bluff and as a buffer too on this. Any other comments or questions?
One of our big concerns, right, was the topology of it and the grading going down.
Yep.
So I don't know. Now they don't want to commit to revegetation on that.
Yeah, I would wonder if whatever it is they plan on planting there will actually help with the steep bluff that you've described, Mr. Chair. And I guess the reason I asked Eleni was because it's possible that entire area could be planted in ornamentals and things that are not only out of character but not conducive to helping the environment there. Versus, say, planting pollinators and or native species, as been already suggested. So they're asking for a lawn in one portion, and thankfully we're not facing a request for a lawn, continually through that area. But I would be more comfortable knowing that there was some agreement that it would be native species.
Yeah, I agree with that, with that as well. Even though Roy does make a good point, but we're not asking for a full-fledged multi-species type re-veg, I guess, and I would just like it to be native as well. Roy and Terry, what do you all think?
I don't know. I mean, we're not calling it a re-veg. They don't want to call it a re-veg. I get what kind of left up to the applicant then to decide what they're going to plant there.
Yeah, I'm kind of contradicting myself, because I can also see if they really want to do some different diverse species and not be locked in. I don't know. And if they did mention native to Eleni, that's good to hear anyway, that some would be native. So, but I would be for this going forward myself, administratively.
Well,
Tim's not.
Mr. Chairman, if you will, what I'm struggling with our requests for natural vegetation in there is I'm struggling to find the nexus for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if we can find the nexus, that's fine, but I don't know if there is.
Well, I wonder if it isn't protection of the bluff in that area, along with the scenic easement, what that is giving us.
Right. Right.
Well, Council, if we let this go administratively, right, and let the planning department does their work, we will see the results. No, it actually does not come back to us. It would be in the planning department's hands, which, yeah.
Yeah, if you, I mean, basically you've shared your concerns with the planning department. If you believe the planning department can address these adequately in
I
their
would agree with that.
administrative
Yeah.
permit, then you leave it in the hands of Eleni and the planners.
Yeah, I will do.
If you feel that you want more control over it, then you
That's a
deny
good
the
idea.
administrative and
Yeah.
put it into a resolution.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Nancy Lynn. I do as well. Ed and Terry on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would agree with that. The way in which it was presented by council, I would agree with that.
Thank you. Terry?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks for your work on this, Eleni. Good luck with the rest.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on next to post-hearing decisions. We have Wes Golby at 136 Benson Drive, Montauk, tax map number 300-32-6-4.001. The lot size and location, 258,192 square feet at 136 Benson Drive, map number 9624. Map of Lot 1, minor subdivision of Hildy Smith, Montauk, tax map number 300- I read that already, but 32-6-4.001. And the description here is to construct approximately 750 linear feet of fencing and allow a 108 square foot shed and 20 square feet of outdoor shower to remain on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to NRSB, pursuant to 255-4-20, variances from 255-4-30, minimum wetland setbacks of the town code, and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. 1, a variance of 87 feet to install the fencing 13 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100 feet is required. 2 and 3, variances of 15 feet and 15 feet are required to remain, the shed to remain an outdoor shower to be constructed 85 feet from wetlands where 100 feet is required. This is in an A10 resident zone, flood zones X, and secret class here is type 2. And this is in board member Berger's district. Terry, would you lead us off here, please?
Mhm. Okay. This is a property that's it's pretty large. It's almost 6 acres. It's in the Montauk Association Historic District, and there are a number of things going on with this. In the original subdivision back in 1994, there was as you can see, a very huge conservation easement that was put into place as part of the subdivision. It's over 81,000 square feet of conservation easement. And at that time, originally, it was part of the subdivision to have the common driveway come in off Montauk Highway. You can see there on the right side of the survey where it says driveway easement. This property was built, I believe, when this property was built, it was built with the driveway on the Benson side, which is where it exists today. There's an admin permit that was given a few years ago to put in a pool on the property and also to change the driveway from coming off Benson Street to change it to coming through the driveway easement off Route 27. So part of this is not in our scope for this hearing. When the pool was built, it was built with pool code fencing enclosing the entire thing. There was also the shower put in that you see on the survey, which was not included in the previous admin permit. And this shed that's over here near the pool in that area, under the admin, the applicant had agreed to take that shed and move it from its location at the time, which was 70 feet from the wetland, and move it into a completely conforming location. As it turns out, when the pool was done and the shed was moved, but they moved it to a location near the pool, and now it's 85 feet from the wetland, so it needs the 15-foot variance on that. And additionally, they're proposing that they want to put in the fencing that goes almost around the entire not the entire property, but the entire property minus the scenic easement. However, on the driveway side on the west here, it comes to within 13 feet of the wetlands. So they need a very large variance for the fencing along this area where the existing driveway is now. On this survey, they don't note the exact location of the 13 feet, but it's these 2 points that you can see just get kind of close to it. And then down by the power pole, there's another part. During the hearing, there was discussion about, decreasing the variance required for the fencing. And the applicant did send an updated survey. This is the updated one, right? Is this the updated one, Nancy? And this is the one received September 7th?
I believe that this is the most up to date.
Yeah, it looks like that line is going straighter.
August 30th revised date?
Well, I think it had the same, that would be it, yeah.
August 30th would be.
Yeah, August
our
30th,
hearing.
okay, so make sure we have the right one. So you can see the fencing coming up in these dashed lines. And so it did improve very slightly, those variances. And Tyler, I wonder if you could calculate that for us, what it changed from and to. Well, we know what it changed from.
Currently,
they were 13 feet away, and they're currently now
approximately 18 and a half.
18 and a half. And that was the one that was closest to the wetlands, I believe. I have no problem with approving the 15-foot variance for the shed. I have no problem with the shower, except that the planning department in the TAM did recommend that a dry well be put in for that. And I would like to condition that approval for the shower on them adding the dry well. I am somewhat torn about the fencing itself. I don't know that the fencing really requires to go around the entire property the way it does. There's already existing pool fence, and in the TAM, planner also questioned as to, why do they really feel it needs to be more expensive than it is today? So I'd like to hear what my other board members say about it, but right now I am leaning, even with the additional improvement in the variance on the fencing in that location, of denying the fencing, but not denying the shed or the shower.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Ed, this being Montauk, you want to pick up next, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments from Board Member Berger on this. I visited the site, and I know that one of the original requests I made of the applicant was that they might improve that condition that they have improved by moving the fence a little further from the property line, a little further from the wetland that they have. I appreciate the concerns that Member Berger has about the fence, but I would say that the fence is running largely on cleared area. It's an area of clearing, and they've worked around. They haven't gone extensively off of that. And where it's most endangering the condition of being close to the wetlands, it is coming up alongside what is a cleared area. There's some vegetation there, but the fence is to run inside of that. I would agree with her about the shed. I think there was an effort to move it. It's unfortunate it did not pull the full 100 feet. And the shower as well. I think conditioning the shower on the dry well is absolutely correct. And I would approve of it. But I would disagree, and I would be in favor of approving the fence, primarily because I don't see it as requiring any additional clearing or getting into areas that we would, firmly want them not to be. So I think as best as they can do to stay away from the wetlands, they have pretty much done that. We could abandon the fence totally. We could ask them to abandon it totally. But if we are going to think about the fence as drawn, I think that effort has been made to move it back. And given the condition of the property, the way in which it has been, the way in which the house sets on the clearing that's there now, I'm willing to approve this application as in its entirety. Thank you.
Ed, thanks so much for your comments. Roy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I agree with the shed and the shower. As far as approving that, I'm also going to agree with the fence. And the reason I agree with the fence is I am looking at the uniqueness of this property, taking into account the huge conservation easement there. And I think it is a unique piece of property. I do think, as member Ed mentioned, that the fence is following the clear line for the most part. So I'm in favor of approving the application.
Well, thank you, all of you. My comments, I completely agree with basically everything that the three of you said, and I appreciate that all. And I would just reiterate the reasons I am for approving the entire application is as you've noted about the shed, you've all discussed already. I agree with that. And with regard to the fencing, I think they made an effort. I think it is an incredibly unique piece of property, as Board Member Dolin has mentioned. And they appear to be good stewards of the land. And I like how this, as Ed says, this fence is maintaining the line of clearing, and they made that adjustment, and they're re-vegging that 710 square feet. But I like the way the fence actually really impedes mowing and additional clearing. I think at the end of the day, it might even be better environmentally at this particular site to protect those wetlands. So I too am in favor of approving this entire application as presented.
Okay, if I just may make a comment,
Sure.
It's not following the line of clearing now. They straightened it out, which is,
Yeah,
so
right. They did,
away
right.
from the line of clearing in that one location.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments, board members?
No.
Okay, council, do you have what you need then?
I'm just a little confused. The fence that's there already is a fence along.
No, the fence right now is around the pool area.
Okay.
And
The
they
fence that
want to
appears-
remove that fence. You know what, I have another question on the proposed fence. The agent stated that they were calling it pool fencing. However, they also stated that some of it or all of it was going to be 8 feet. So I assume they have to go in front of, it doesn't note the height of the fence on this survey.
Yeah.
It also doesn't note the distance to the wetlands, but they want to remove the actual pool code fencing that goes around the existing pool today and add the 750 feet of fencing.
And the fencing that's along the edge of the wetland, is that staying?
That's not there now. That's
what's
going
going
to be
in
there.
or not?
That's not in.
just
That
a
will
line.
be in with this approval.
Yeah,
That will go in with the approval.
Melanie, maybe you, or Tyler, I'm sorry, this is Tyler.
That jagged line
maybe you could,
there. I
with
don't know
your
if you want to
cursor.
go to the original survey. The original survey has that jagged line following the dash lines. Well, close.
And they move the fence in.
A little bit east.
And
along
there you go.
the
That's what we
driveway.
need.
I
If you could
understand that. I
highlight
guess
that.
my question is there appears to be, that's fencing.
This is proposed, correct, Tyler?
Right, I
Yeah, you got
understand
that.
that.
Yeah.
My question is there fencing between that and there seems to be jagged line right over top of the flagging.
That's a line of clearing, I believe, the existing line of clearing, Tyler, is that
the
correct?
line of
Yeah.
clearing?
The dash line, if there's the
The
line.
dash line.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Tyler? If you could unmute for a
But
second.
not
This
that,
line
I
here?
know, this,
Oh,
Yes,
That-
that. What is that?
That might be an old wetland flagging. It's hard to tell.
Well, I'm just because it looks like a fence.
Oh, I
just
see what
wanted
you
to make
mean.
sure that you're not
Yeah,
approving.
I have a
that
feeling that's
fencing.
that's an old wetland flagging. I have a feeling.
yeah, I don't recall seeing a fence over there.
Okay,
Or
so
that's-
that's
or
not
Well, that's a
fencing.
very good
Or that's
question,
the
counsel.
conservation. That's the conservation easement.
Oh, there you go,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yes,
That
whole
makes
thing.
sense.
That's the conservation easement line.
There we go.
Okay, that's the line for the conservation
Yeah.
easement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good
All
question,
right,
Nancy.
that's what I just wanted to make sure because
Yeah.
it almost looked like there were 3 fences.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for that catch.
Okay. No problem.
So it
All right,
seems
then I have what
like,
I need.
so
And-
Terry,
and
are you good? I'm sorry, Nancy. Are you good, Terry? Are we, just so I'm clear, are you good with the fencing, Terry, as proposed? I'm not pressuring you, I'm just asking.
No, I'm not going to change it. It's still a huge variance, you know.
Okay,
it's
so you would be
radiation
denying-
variance
okay.
for it, so.
All right, so just so I have it clear, we have all unanimous on shed and shower with the shower condition on adding a dry well, and 3 out of 4 to approve the fencing and 1 dissent on that.
Correct.
Okay,
Sounds correct.
okay, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Nancy Lynn. And Tyler, for your work on this, and board members, we'll move on. Next, we have Lawrence Chaffetz at 56 Osprey Road, Narragansett, tax map number 300-131.
Okay. Are we going to do Chaffetz? We're going to do Chaffetz?
Please,
Yeah, we can, let's let's do it and we can see how it goes. Let's get into it, Terry, okay?
I think we have to discuss it tonight because.
Yeah, we have to, and then we can always
Okay.
table it if we want to.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and read it in now. We have Lawrence Chaffetz, again, 56, Lawrence Chaffetz, 56 Osprey Road in Amagansett. The lot size and location, 7,552 square feet at 56 Osprey Road, map of Montauk on the Sea, filed September 1955, file number 2438 in Amagansett, the tax map number. Description: to construct a 180 square foot gross floor area dormer additions, allow 150 square feet decking, 2 sheds totaling 75 square feet, 56 square foot spa and outdoor shower to remain, and install a sanitary system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and variances from 255-11-10 table of dimensional regulations and 255-11-72D pyramid of the town code, and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. 1, variance of 2 feet is required to allow the shed to remain 8 feet from the side yard western lot line where 10 feet is required. 2, a variance of 8 feet is required to allow the hot tub to remain 12 feet from the side yard western lot line where 20 feet is required. 3, a variance of 6 feet is required to allow the hot tub to remain 14 feet from the rear yard southern lot line where 20 feet is required. 4 and 5, variances of 14.1 feet and 1.9 feet are required to allow the east and west dormer additions, respectively, to extend beyond the town's relative height pyramid regulations. And 6, a variance is required to allow a 3rd-story addition where 2.5 is the maximum number of stories permitted. This is in a B residence zone, AE flood zone elevation 10, secret class type 2. And this is in my Amagansett district. Board member Ed Johan wanted to get a little bit west of Montauk, so he jumped on this site visit, and thank you for that thorough site visit you did for us, Ed. So Ed, why don't you start off, and then I'll pick up next, this being my Amagansett, then we'll go on to the other board members.
Yeah, thank
If
you,
you
Mr.
please.
Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The board will remember that this hearing for this application was on August 24th. The survey that we're working for is dated July 24th, 2019, but it was last updated on June 25th, 2020. This property is located on Osprey Road in the Montauk by the Sea area subdivision in eastern Amagansett, south of Montauk Highway along the road known locals as the Stretch. The board regularly hears applications from this part of Amagansett, and we're familiar with the typical topography, ecological makeup of the land in this area, which is described as the very sensitive dune land, which is throughout this entire subdivision, and which we've taken great care in addressing in previous decisions and previous consideration. The size of the lot here is 7,552 square feet, which is fairly typical throughout the subdivision. Small lot sign means that the houses there are set closely together, and that determining whether or not a proposed project will have a negative impact on the adjoining properties and the neighborhood as a whole is something that we have to consider carefully, especially in cases like this one. The existing house is pre-existing non-conforming. It is an A-frame structure that projects upward to an elevation of 40.6 feet, which is about 34 feet above the pavement on Osprey Road and approximately 33 feet above natural grade, where code allows 30-foot maximum for ridge height. Of importance is that this structure is taller than other houses in the neighborhood, and we will be considering that as we continue to discuss this particular application. It's also interesting that the long axis of the existing house is set at an angle from the north-south property lines, and so it's seen obliquely from the roadside. Now, from my point of view, the relief being sought in this application can be viewed from two separate perspectives. There is an NRSP and 6 variances being requested here. 3 are at ground level and 3 are associated with the proposed dormers. The 3 that are at the ground level are where a 2-foot variance is needed to allow for a shed to the west to remain in its current location, and variances of 8 and 6 feet are required to allow a hot tub to remain where it currently sits on the southeast corner of an existing deck. The applicant has offered, The applicant has offered to install an IA sanitary system as mitigation for the request that they are making. And I have no problem approving these first 3 as part of an agreement that sees an improved sanitary system to be installed. The other 3 variances relate to the proposed dormers, 1 to the east, 1 to the west, and for me, the approval here becomes much more problematic. These dormers would increase the gross floor area of the structure by 180 square feet. Significantly, I think, though, in doing so, they are not increasing the current house's structure's footprint. To this point, I think that the applicant's requests are offset by the offer of the IA system, but I carefully considered the configuration of the proposed dormers and the aesthetic impact that they might have on the neighborhood. Drawing number 1 and 2 on A4, I don't think that's quite A4, but that gives us thank you. On A4, DPH Design's building plans show clearly how dramatically the proposed dormers would change the elevations of the existing structure. And a good deal of the time I spent considering this application was spent weighing the pros and cons of approving this work in particular. I think that drawing 1, which is on the upper left of the screen, is a view from the road. Drawing 4, which is on the lower right of the screen, would be the view from the backyard of this, which would face the neighbor on Shore Road. Again, this is what first gave me pause when we first had our hearing, was this particular view and what it does to the character of the neighborhood as we continue forward with this discussion. Until Monday, when I revisited the site, I was sure that I'd be denying this application, but 2 factors have caused me to reconsider. One is that while I cannot look approvingly at the change in the size and character of the addition on these 2 dormers would mean in the neighborhood, when standing in the street, straddling this property in 60 Osprey Road, the neighbor immediately to the east and of this applicant, you are struck with the size and massing of that roof, which provides a similar facade as the one that would be erected on the property of our applicant. That is to say that the house next door has very similar feel than what it does in terms of looming over the road and blocking whatever views might be had looking off to the south. Additionally, a house immediately to the south of this parcel out on Shore Road, facing Shore Road, presents a similarly massive facade. Photos of both houses were included in the field report the night of the public hearing. The second major factor in my mind was whether the work proposed here meant that far less damage would be done to the lot by approving this application than would be done by any additions or modifications that might be done to the footprint of the house if we were faced with a more ambitious proposal or a complete redevelopment. I am bothered by us approving an addition to a nonconformity as it relates to the 3rd floor, but the 3rd floor does exist now, and the amount of additional floor space proposed here is minimal on both the legal 2nd floor and the non-conforming 3rd floor. It is worth noting that letters of support were received from both 48 and 60 Osprey Road, the neighbors to both the west and the east. So in the end, can we approve a project that asks for approval and increasing a nonconformity at the 3rd floor and a very large pyramid variance to the east and an additional pyramid variance to the west in return for getting an improved sanitary system and a minimal disturbance to the parcel? The board has denied many applications that have asked for period variances that were significantly less than these. So this is a difficult decision to make, I feel. However, considering the new IA system has been offered and that the footprint of the existing structure will not be increased, that the impact on the environment and the character of the neighborhood would not be significantly changed, I am hesitantly leaning towards approving this application. However, I would very much look forward to hear the discussion that will come about when my fellow board members comment. I would say that this is one that you have to weigh, I had to weigh very carefully, and that I'm very willing to admit that it is a very slim margin by which I came to the decision to approve this application. Thank you.
Ed, thanks so much for your thorough site visit and your thorough analysis there. Really appreciate it. Oh, and look, and we have board member Brenneman joining us. That's great. Good evening, Tim. I think he's muted right now.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My apologies for the tardy arrival. I'm in a little bit of a crowded, noisy area, so I'm going to try to keep on mute so as to not disrupt the proceedings, but I'm happy to participate.
Well, Ed, Tim, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Nice to see you. So I will say, Ed, again, thank you for all of that. Board member, since this is close to Montauk, Terry, you want to take a stab here next, please? Or comment on this, I should say.
Terry, you're on mute.
All right, I too was laboring over this and spent a lot of time on Osprey Avenue, actually, walking around the neighborhood and Shore Road. And it was looking at the plans and the hearing and the photos. I think there was nothing doing enough justice to it, but walking around the neighborhood several times and around the property, I could see, ultimately I could see where the applicant got this plan and how it might fit in. So I'm going back to the pluses of it, that as written in the TAM, that the GFA increase was 180 square feet, and that there's no change in the footprint, and the offer of the new IA system as mitigation for this. The part that was incredibly bothersome to me is the 14.1 foot pyramid on the east side, and the 1.9 somewhat on the west side. But as I said, walking around, I could see the house at 60 Osprey to the east, which is the most effective neighbor. They wrote a letter of approval. However, that house itself is very large, and the house 48 Atlantic Drive also is the house to the west of the applicant's home, and that also it's not quite as bothersome. But when you walk down to Shore Road and you walk up there, the house immediately to the south of this residence also is very high and in very much in view from this house. So with the looking at the plans and the rotation of the house, the way it sits on the property, ultimately I too am in favor of the project, with some qualms, but I think ultimately that since we're getting the IA system and I think a complete revegetation of this property, redevelopment of the property rather, could ultimately be more bothersome to the existing dune land in the southeast side, particularly of this property that exists today, and which looks like it will remain undisturbed with this project. So I too am going to vote in favor of it.
Well, thank you, Terry, for those thorough comments as well. Vice Chair Delaney, could you comment, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I'm in agreement with my other two board members. I think that, first off, I want to maybe describe what this neighborhood is. It's a neighborhood that is built with small cottages built into an existing immaculate dune, mostly prior to zoning. And these are small beach cottages, and the dune meanders through these cottages, and it's pristine. Once again, it's pristine dune. So I would say that any type of development or further development, really, we have to look at 255-4, 540 D, where we're not introducing undue disturbance or disruption of the dunes. That being said, I'm also concerned with also with this particular property, being that there's a number of nonconformities already existing on the property. Number one is the existing third floor is a nonconformity, and also the height of the building is a nonconformity, the existing peak. I'm very concerned with increasing nonconformities on this particular property, especially when it comes to pyramid. I would like to caution us to think about whether we are willing to use an IA system to justify a pyramid rule variance, when this could be anybody can come to us then and saying, "Oh, we want to do an IA system, therefore we want a pyramid variance." I think that in this case, I would think even when it comes to the pool, the hot tub, that too is a nonconformity that exists, and I would think that the mitigation of the IA system would justify with a hot tub where it is, but I don't agree with using the mitigation of the septic system for increasing the nonconformity of the third floor and also the pyramid variances. So therefore, I really would look to deny that.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I looked at this, I had many of the motions that all three of the board members have already expressed. I found it a very challenging application. Ultimately, however, I find that the mitigation that is proposed doesn't really match with the request that's being asked for. The pyramid and the third story, from a mitigation standpoint, we would typically look for evidence of screening. We would look for a lot of sort of protections, and I realize that the current neighbors are in support. However, this is going to go for eternity. And so ultimately, I'm in favor of denying this application. I just don't think that when I measure it, the IA system is an adequate offset for what is being asked for. And there's quite a bit being asked for here that's already non-conforming. And it's such a beautiful area. I would like to see something different here.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you all board members. This really is a tough one here, and I really do appreciate all of your comments. I must say, I'm certainly torn on this one. I was leaning here with board members Johan and Berger on this one, and yet it's such a fine line that hearing Tim and Roy's comments, I'm so concerned about as much as I appreciate the mitigation of the IA system, and as much as I understand, I'll give you the positives first, to be honest, to the applicant. I know this house, this land, this neighborhood very well. It's a unique situation. I think with regard to the scale of the neighborhood, these dormers being set back don't bother me so much as far as compared to their neighbors and the support. yet they are variances that are very significant. And the third floor, even though non-conforming, is a slippery slope. And I am concerned, as Vice Chair Deline said, that how far do you go with mitigation of the IA system? As much as I want to see that here, what I would like to see is, if this is denied, is that the applicants come back. It may take them another chunk of time, but simply come back, and as Roy says, just to take another look at this and rethink what they're looking for here, and give it another pass, and whatever they can do for revegetation. I think there are some opportunities there to augment the vegetation and work with the planning department on the next application. But so on this one, I am going to go along and deny the application. Go along with Tim and Roy's thoughts, and as much as I certainly appreciate Ed and Terry's thoughts as well. Council? Yeah, or any other comments, board members? Terry, Ed, Terry, anyone?
I would only say, Mr. Chair, that this is the finest of lines on which side I came out on, and I very much appreciate Vice Chair Deline's comments. I think both in relative to our take on IA systems here and in the future, and I cannot agree more that allowing a massive pyramid variance on the east side of this property is really particularly bothersome. So I'm not prepared to change my vote. I carefully considered, and I'll stay where I'm at. But I
appreciate that.
I'm fully supportive of the fact that everyone else looked at it seriously as well and came to their own well thought out conclusions.
Thank you. I completely thank you so much, Ed. And again, just since this is my Amagansett district, to reiterate, this is such a fine line that, I could see portions of these, both of these variances. I understand it is an existing third floor. When they do come back, I really do hope they come back, because I certainly would like to see an IA system at this site in the future. So if there's no other comments, Council, are you good with that?
No, I'll also just comment that.
Sure, Terry, please.
Right now, Vice Chair Deline's comments, I appreciate that, because it did give me a little more food for thought. I'll leave my decision as it is, but I appreciate the comments that he made.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that as well. Thanks, Terry, for that. Okay, Council, are you okay with all that?
So we have 3 to deny and 2 not very staunch dissents. That's
Fine
fair?
line. A fine line.
Fine line, okay.
Right.
Before we move on to the next item, do you want to, since Tim has joined us, do you want to get his thoughts on Golby?
That would be wonderful. Tim, I don't know if you got to hear any of that on Golby.
I think he joined us after we had
discussed that.
He'll be fresh on it, but
so I will tell Tim that we did discuss this thoroughly, Golby, and I believe at the end of the day, all 3 of us were unanimous on approving that. Is that correct, Terry? At the end of the day, is that how?
No, there were. You have 4 to approve the shed and the shower with the condition of adding a dry well, and you have 3 out of 4 approving the fence now that it's been moved in a little farther from the wetlands.
That's right. Great. So thank you, Nancy Lynn. Tim?
And can you, I went through my paperwork and did not see the fence reconfiguration. Is that it up on the screen now?
Yeah.
That is, and maybe Tyler, could you highlight that for Tim?
Sure.
If you don't mind, Tyler, with your fancy red marker. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler, could you go over the numbers again on where it was moved from that, 13.3 feet from the wetlands to the new number?
I think it's 18 or something. Or?
It was 18 and a half.
18 and a half.
If I measured.
So they moved it back at that closest point to the wetland, Tim, about 5 feet.
And it's primarily now,
yeah.
it's primarily now in a cleared edge, a cleared area.
And they
Right,
did
I
that
appreciate-
7 times. Yep.
I appreciate the color commentary, and I have to say, when I reviewed this, the size of the conservation easement on this property did really stand out to me. The fact that such an enormous portion of this property is already protected, and I think, especially given the changes that I'm seeing here, I am in favor of approving this application.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's good to have your input. Thank you for that. And thanks for that suggestion, Nancy Lynn, to go back to that conversation. I appreciate that. Okay. So council, shall we move on next? We're good, right, to move on, correct?
Good, yep.
Great. Okay, thank you. So next we'll move on to the other decisions here. We have Laura McCall at 52 Private Road off Napeague Harbor Road in Amagansett, tax map number 300-109-0.8. And board members, this is in my Amagansett district. As you recall, we approved this application, and the applicants came back to us with a revised survey that we had requested, and as well, they came back with a protocol, construction protocol from Drew Bennett Engineering, and what they need. I won't read the whole letter, but they basically have right in their letter that they have, and I think you saw Tyler's memo, actually board members. But so basically, what they were looking for is a letter that this board approves the survey. That's all they need, so that they can go ahead and process their Suffolk County Department of Health Services wastewater management permit for the new sound IA system. So I have reviewed it, and I've discussed this reviewed it carefully with Tyler, and I have read the Drew Bennett's construction protocol. So I am fine with drafting a letter in support of the survey so they can move forward with the county. Roy, your comments?
I am too. I'm in favor of it too, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Terry? Oh, you muted, Terry. I think you muted, Terry.
Sorry. Yeah, my only question, the revegetation and the driveway question, that is also addressed on this survey?
I believe it's all been taken care
Has
of
that all
per
been taken
Tyler's
care of?
memo.
Yeah, the revegetation.
Tyler's here, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All right,
area
yeah, I'm
where
okay with it too
the
then.
garage was is shown as reveg. I think that's what the
Right.
board wanted to fix.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm okay with it too.
Thanks, Tyler. Ed?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm okay with it. I'm satisfied that the planning board seems to be in favor of it. So they've reviewed what their aspects would be most concerned to me. So
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, I agree. Tim?
Same here, Mr. Chairman. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Okay, next we'll move on right down to the minutes. I have read Laura McPherson's minutes that she prepared for us. Thank you, Laura, and they seem fine to me. Do I have a motion to approve the draft minutes of October 5th, 2021?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I also read them and they look good. And so I will make a motion to approve the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals minutes for October 5th.
I second. Oh, I'll concur.
And I will concur.
Who
And I
seconded?
Ed seconded.
Okay. Here, I'm okay.
And I concur as well, and thank you for that pickup on that too, Board Member Berger. Okay. I believe, Council, do you have anything else on your agenda, Council?
Nope, we're good. I have everything taken care of.
Well, you just have a little work to do as usual.
I have some work to do, but you guys are done for tonight.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Eleni and board members and Laura and LTV. We just need a motion from Vice Chair Delane. Roy, if you please.
Sure, Chairman, I make a motion then. I don't know, is Tim in our time zone? I don't know, what do I do, Tim?
I'm in your time zone, but I'm a little
Okay,
bit of
there
a
you-
distance away.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us again and the effort there, Tim. Seriously, thank you.
Therefore, I make a motion to close the work session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, October 12th at 7:24 PM.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you all and have a good